Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at the newly released Metal Deformation F12A KO MPM Starscream. Now if you are in the market for picking this figure up, it is available and in stock right now over at Shozi's store, and for that of course I will leave a link down in the description box below. Getting back here however to the actual figure himself, this is actually one of the first KO MPM Starscreams to be released, and seeing as this is one of the first entries, I've got to say that it is certainly a very good entry. Now unlike some of my initial presumptions, this figure here isn't just a direct repaint of the MPM Starscream. It does indeed have some brand new retooled areas which in my opinion greatly benefit the look of the robot mode. The jet mode for the most part, other than the colour scheme, is exactly the same as the official version. However, we'll get into some comparisons later on in the review. Now something which you'll notice straight away is that unlike the original version, this figure has been given a much darker colour scheme which may or may not be accurate to the movie. I have gone and actually rewatched some scenes of where Starscream is in his jet mode from the movie, and in some shots he definitely does have a slightly darker colour scheme. However, in other shots he does have a lighter colour scheme which in my opinion better matches the official version. So in terms of the colorization here in the jet mode, I think that it will be probably up to your own personal preference on whether or not you prefer the darker colour scheme or the lighter colour scheme that the official version does have. But taking a look here at the cockpit, you can see that we do indeed have all of the same details as we got on the official version. The sculpt work on this particular piece has come out incredibly crisp and precise, so despite this being a KO, there are no blurry or areas of which look cheap. You can see that we've got some lovely details here going along the front, as well as some additional paint applications. And then just taking a look here at the opposite side, you can once again see some fantastic sculpt work as well as paint work. As mentioned previously, the figure does have very similar decals to that of the original version, such as the USAF logo there. And as we take a look here at the top of the fin, you can see once again some fantastic decals which the actual official version does not have. As we take a look here at the back end, once again very similar to that of the original version, and the same can also be said here for the opposite side. Seeing as the sculpt for the most part is the same as the official version, he does transform in practically the exact same way, so we do unfortunately have all of the same undercarriage robot mode kibble. However, as mentioned in my MPM Starscream review, I think that this is actually one of the cleanest jets, and considering the design of Bay vs Starscream, I think that they have done a commendable job. Now taking a look at the accessories, you can see that they do indeed store in the exact same way as the original version. So we of course do get the buzzsaw as well as the missile launcher, and of course the mini machine gun here at the front. But before we actually take a closer look at the accessories, I first of all want to bring out the actual official version so that we can now begin to have a direct comparison. And you can see in what I mentioned earlier on in the review in regards to the colour scheme, the official version has a much lighter colour scheme which when in robot mode in my opinion looks incredibly bland. However, here for jet mode, I actually do think that this one here better matches the real life F22 Lockheed Martin that we do see in the second movie. This colour scheme to me better matches what we got in the Revenge of the Fallen movie, minus the tattoos, which I did actually quite like the colour of. However, if you are going for movie accuracy, I do think in some regards that the official version is slightly more accurate. But getting into the comparisons of the accessories, we'll first of all start off here with the missile launcher, so just removing this one. And then coming to the KO version, there is no comparison here in my opinion. The new KO version is just painted so much better when compared here to the official version, and it really does show to me the potential that Hasbro and Takara Tomy do have, as the sculpt work is for sure there. It is just merely the paint applications which are lacking. You can see that just comparing the missile pods here, in my opinion it is just night and day. I think that the detail as well as the paint work that has come on these KO versions is a lot more accurate to what we see in the movie than compared to this one. And something worth noting is that the actual blade here is made out of a lot firmer plastic than as opposed to the much rubbery plastic that we did indeed get on the official version. You can also see when comparing the details here, they've actually painted some of the circuitry details such as the wiring as well as this gold highlight. And then as we take a look here at the opposite side, you can once again see that despite this being the side that has the peg, they have not skimped out on the paintwork whatsoever. So in terms of a comparison, I for sure do believe that the KO version wins hands down. Getting into the buzzsaw, this is an area of which I'm actually quite conflicted on, as I really do love the solid silver paint application that we do get here for the official version, than as opposed to the translucent orange that we do get on the KO version. Now once again, I do think that this is probably going to be up to your own personal preference on whether or not you prefer a more authentic look for your Starscream, or if you want a slightly more cooler looking version. There is no denying that this version here looks a little bit more cooler with the transparent plastic. However, if you're going for accuracy to the movie, I think that this one here is a little bit more authentic. But taking a look at the actual cradle section here for the buzzsaw, once again the KO version does win wins hands down in terms of the paint apps, as well as the overall colorization to the actual plastic. I did initially believe that there was a way for you to actually swap the blades out, however you can see that for the KO we do have a screw, whereas here for the official it is just a pin, so I do imagine it would be rather difficult to actually remove this blade and peg it on here for the KO version. But overall, in terms of a comparison, this here is where I'm more half and half, as I do love the silver blade here, and I'm not much of a fan of the actual translucent orange, but then I am a massive fan of the entire cradle section that we do get for the KO. Taking a look at the final accessory, here we have the machine gun, and now very similarly to the actual missile pod, the KO version in my opinion wins hands down. Just check out the detail as well as the paint apps that we do get on the KO version. You can see that this entire section here has been picked out in a fantastic looking silver paint. We also have a much darker gunmetal silver here for the main barrel section, and these sections here have also been picked out in a lovely gold, very similarly to the official. This section here can rotate, and of course you can peg it underneath the jet mode and on the side of the arm for robot mode. So once again, just giving you the comparison there, the official version in my opinion is certainly inferior. But comparing the actual figures themselves, for the most part they share very similar decals such as the USAF logos here. However, we only get it here on one side for the KO, but the sculpted in details certainly do retain here for the KO version. You can see that the sculpt work in my opinion is just as crisp and precise on this one. So if you are after a cheaper alternative that has the same level of detail as that of the official, this time done round in what may or may not be more movie accurate color schemes, in terms of jet mode, the KO version is certainly a really nice option to go with. I won't be showcasing the transformation in this review, as despite this figure having some mold differences, the actual conversion is basically the same as the official version. So if you do wish to see the conversion, be sure to check out my original review of the MPM Starscream. But without further ado, let's transform them both up and take a look at them in their robot modes. And so now, with the transformation complete, any discrepancies that I did have with the colorization of this figure in his jet mode have just gone straight out the window when we take a look at Starscream in his robot mode. In my opinion, this here looks absolutely fantastic, and really to me shows the potential of the Hasbro and Takara Tomy sculpts if they are painted properly. MPM figures are the most expensive premium figures that Hasbro do in terms of official transformable representations, so I really wish that Hasbro would actually paint their figures as well as some of these KO companies do. Now, as mentioned in the jet mode, not only is this figure here painted really nicely, but he does actually have some newly sculpted and slightly modified pieces in order to help aid the robot mode, and I will go into them in more detail when we actually do the comparisons between the official and KO version. But for now, starting off here firstly by taking a look at the details, once again a remarkable job in terms of the paint applications applied here for the head. You can see that not only have they used a metallic silver in order to paint the majority of the head, but they've also used some gold, purple and even darker metallic highlights there to pick out some of the more discreet details of the sculpt. We also do have some really nice golden highlights there for the nose and the mouth, and in my opinion all of these colours really do complement each other rather nicely and definitely capture the appearance of Starscream from the first trilogy of Michael Bay movies. As we take a look here for the torso, you can see that even here for the neck, this has been painted in a darker metallic silver with the lighter grey around it in order to contrast. We also do have some golden highlights here to pick out some of the sharper details of the sculpt, and as we take a look here at this entire region, this for sure is a feast for the eyes. You can see that we've got some fantastic sculpt work, all of which has been painted so nicely, even on these tiny little nubs in the interior section of Starscream's chest. These have been picked out in a fantastic gold, and once again it just adds an extra layer of not only realism to the movie, but also an extra layer of detail which you may have missed on the original version. As we take a look here for the shoulder sections, you can see that these have all been picked out in a fantastic metallic silver with the really awesome metallic gold highlights. I do love the fade effect that we have got going on for some of the parts of the figure as well. Much like we saw in the movie, we've got a mix of darker and lighter shades of grey, and as we take a look here for the arms, you can once again see some fantastic circuitry details which were missing on the original version, such as the red and gold highlights. And as we take a look here for the fingers, these have all been picked out in a much firmer type of plastic than what we got on the original version. As we take a look here for these wing sections, you can once again see some nice details here on some of the smaller detailed sections. You can see that we've got some nice silver pieces here. As we take a look at this arm, once again, really sharp and precise paint apps. The lower torso section, once again, has got that fade effect with the grey and silver, and I really do like how they've added these golden highlights here, once again, to match his on-screen model. As we rotate the fire, you can see that we've got some nice silver paint apps here, which complement the darker metallic plastic really well. And then finally, taking a look here for the legs, very similarly to what we got with the rest of the figure, we do have the lighter and darker fade effect of the greys. And then as we take a look here at the back perspective, you can see that we've got some nice golden highlights here, as well as some fantastic sculpt work going along, and then finally this golden highlight here. As we take a look at this entire back region, once again the thrusters in my opinion have been painted so much better than what we got on the original version. If you recall, the original version had them completely painted in a metallic gold, which of course was not accurate to the movie, and this time around they've been painted in a really awesome metallic silver, and the tips of them have also been painted in this metallic blue, obviously to match the actual thruster effect that we see Starscream have when he does fly around in his robot mode. Taking a look at some of the sharper details of the sculpt, you can see that we've got some golden highlights here as well as some golden highlights there, and you can also see here that the back of Starscream's head has also got a metallic purple. So in terms of paint applications, I think that this figure here for the robot mode is pretty much flawless, and in my opinion at the moment is the most definitive representation of a transformable movie Starscream that we have ever gotten. In terms of articulation, one thing also to mention is that they have actually reinforced some of the joints. So where we had some loose and floppy ratchet joints on the official version, that is completely gone here with the KO version, so we do get a very nice swivel here at the head, which can of course look left to right. We also do have a very soft indentation ratchet joint here for the neck, which can ratchet up and down. Of course, the mouth can also open much like the official version. The actual shoulder sections here are of course on hinge joints, so can move forwards and backwards. The ratchet joints in the arms have been reinforced, so unlike the official, are not loose whatsoever, so these can ratchet forward as well as ratchet backwards. They can of course ratchet out to the sides, once again on much firmer ratchet joints, not on the friction ratchet joints that we got on the official version, but this time done with the actual spring mechanism ratchet joints, which really does help to aid some poses. We do get a rotation here at the forearm as well as a 90-degree bend here also on a ratchet joint, full 360 rotation here at the wrists, and of course we do get hinge joints here, and all of the fingers are individually articulated, with the thumbs here having an additional hinge joint here, mainly due to the transformation. We unfortunately don't get any form of waist rotation. It would have been great if they could have added that here for this particular figure, but nonetheless we can kick the legs forwards that far as well as back to that far. You can of course do the splits, full 360 rotation here at the thigh, as well as a ratchet joint here for the knee, another ratchet joint here for the lower section of the knee, and then finally taking a look here at the foot, this here can pivot side to side as well as forwards and backwards on very stiff joints, unlike the official version, which if you recall were very loose and actually cause some issues in terms of the stability. So once again, the KO version here in my opinion in terms of QC definitely is superior when compared to that of the official version. Now before I bring out the official version for comparison, I first of all want to just show you some of the weapon integration with this particular KO Starscream if you haven't got the official version. So to begin with, of course, we just take the hand here and fold this section in first so that we are left with a tab which is exposed. We can then bring in the missile pod, and you can see a tab that will peg into this slot, and then this tab will peg into a slot on the forearm. So just align this up appropriately and snap that in there nice and securely, and you can see that that is our new KO Starscream wielding what is in my opinion the superior looking missile pod. I think that this looks so awesome, and for sure when on display is a sight to behold. And once again, as mentioned during the articulation segment, due to the new reinforced ratchet joints in the shoulders, he has no issue raising this up whatsoever, and this is actually quite an extended and heavy piece for this tiny ratchet joint. So once again, well done to Metal Deformation for reinforcing that. You can see that even when shaking it, it is not going anywhere, and I will bring in the official version for a shake test later on in the review. We can of course take the machine gun here and peg it onto the side of Starscream's arm, much like we saw in the movie, or you can take it here and peg it onto the back. I won't be installing this just yet, as I want to show you how the actual buzzsaw section does install. So once again, it's very similar to what we got with the missile pod arm. You just want to fold that in like so. Take this section, hook that there over the top, snap that into place, and there we have Starscream with two of his more heavily armoured looking weapons. And once again, I just think that this is so awesome, and you can see that even on this arm, the ratchet joints are completely reinforced, so the arms are not going anywhere on display. And so now, of course, bringing in the comparison that all of you have been waiting for, here we have the official MPM Starscream compared here next to the KO version, and of course, there is a drastic difference in terms of the paint applications. As mentioned when we were in the jet mode, I did think that the MPM was perhaps more movie accurate to what we actually see from his jet mode. However, when taking a look at them here in their robot modes, in my opinion at least, there is no denying that not only is this KO version more visually appealing, but it definitely does harken back to what we actually saw in all of the first three live action movies by Michael Bay. Starscream definitely did have a slightly darker, more muted colour scheme than as opposed to the lighter grey that we do get here with the official. However, the paint applications are not the only difference between these two figures. So getting into some of the mould differences, we'll begin here with the chest. You can see that for the KO version, we do indeed get this entirely new sculpted section here with these two spikes, which once again are more movie accurate to what we actually see in the film. These are indeed absent here on the official version. You can see that we do not have those spikes whatsoever. It's rather difficult to actually show you on camera due to how large these figures are, but you can see that for the KO we do have these spikes here and here, whereas on the official version it is missing, and something which they certainly have fixed here on the KO version, which was one of the major deal breakers that I had here with the official version, is this awful butt flap. You can see that this section here completely stuck out. It had no place to fold in. Even from the front it was visible, and it was certainly an eyesore and was something that actually detracted from an overall really nice looking figure. That is something that the KO company have tried their best to actually fix here with this release. So as we take a look here at the back, we now have a hinge joint which can be folded up or down to your so desire, which once again in my opinion just really creates for the fantastic silhouette that we get in the movie. You can see that looking at it here from a front on perspective, it is completely absent and you honestly wouldn't even notice it was there. So that in my opinion is such a nice touch, and it's something that they didn't have to do. They could have simply had just taken this mold and given it some new paint applications, but they have indeed put their own spin on it and added some of these modifications, which once again makes this here the superior version out of the two molds. Now, not only are the paint applications different, which of course you can see here just when comparing them side by side, but as mentioned previously, they did reinforce the ratchet joints, so where I could shake this figure here with the missile pod and there would be no issues whatsoever. That is something that unfortunately you cannot do with the official version. You can see that as soon as I shake that, it does indeed fold down, and in some instances it doesn't even hold it up, and that was an issue that I've seen on multiple copies from many other reviewers as well, so it isn't just an isolated issue. So that is something that once again for a premium product by Hasbro shouldn't be an issue, and the things that the KO version have fixed are really things that I think Hasbro could do easily before they actually put these figures here out to mass market. So overall, in terms of actually comparing the two, I think that at least in terms of my own personal preference, that the KO version wins hands down when comparing it here next to the very bland grey looking official version. And so some final thoughts. At the end of the day, if you are after the most definitive representation of a movie Starscream to add to your collection, which can transform from his jet mode into his robot mode and vice versa, I believe here that the KO version at the moment is probably your best bet. Of course, the official MPM Starscream had the mold down to a T. The sculpt work on the official version was fantastic, and the engineering too was also really well done. I thought that the official version had an amazing robot mode as well as a jet mode. However, in the robot mode, it did have some discrepancies in terms of some of the design choices, especially where that butt flap was concerned, and these discrepancies are all things which I believe could have been easily remedied, which is demonstrated here by the KO version. The KO version adds very minute changes to the actual sculpt, but the changes that they do make really amplifies the overall look, and the paintwork, especially here for the robot mode, is fantastic. The paint applications that have been applied for this figure look phenomenal. You've got all of the intricate details such as the circuitry on the arms, the circuitry in the chest, the golden piston details, as well as some other subtle golden highlights. The missile pod looks absolutely fantastic. The sculpt work is incredibly crisp and precise. The joints are all tight. Everything works perfectly, and of course this figure is actually half the price when comparing it to the official version. So with all that being said, if you are in the market for picking this figure up, it is available and in stock right now over at Shozy Store, and I hope that through this review you can agree with me in saying that at the moment this is the best transformable Starscream that there is currently on the market. And be sure to let me know down in the comment section below on whether or not you agree with my thoughts in saying that this particular version is superior when compared to the official version. I really do hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.